Welcome to Maximize Your Potential with Dan and Lance. I'm Dan.
And I'm Lance.
And today we have an amazing guest. I'm excited that our guest is here. And I'll say real quick, this individual has been instrumental, I think, in helping me build my brand as a realtor here with Keller Williams. So I'm definitely very appreciative of that. Wears many hats, which of course we'll get into that more in the conversation. But it is great to have Theresa Flood with us here today.
I am so honored to be here.
Yes.
This is amazing.
Yeah. Well, we're very happy to have you.
Wow.
Definitely very happy to have
And
you.
the studio looks beautiful.
Oh, well, thank you.
You took it from a blank white room
Yes.
and turned it into something absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I'm
Thank
very
you.
honored. You
Little
guys
sweat
are
equity.
You guys are a lot of fun and this
you.
is going to be a great conversation.
Yeah, so I'll tell you,
Thank
it
you.
didn't come
Thank you.
easily, Theresa. We went through about 4 different contractors who were supposed to paint. We had wallpaper
That
up
never
at one
happens.
point. Oh,
Nobody can relate to that at all.
exactly. But sometimes you just you roll up your sleeves and you get it done yourself. You know what I mean?
Well, it
Yeah.
looks pristine.
Yeah, well,
so
Thank you.
You
Thank
pulled
you.
it off.
Yeah.
So let's start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where are you from?
So I was born in Minnesota.
Oh, wow.
Born in Minnesota. And
I like how you say it too.
Yes, that is it's my roots coming out.
Yeah,
I moved here though when I was 4.
Okay.
So my dad was in the book business. He was a traveling salesman, owned a publishing company up in Minnesota.
Okay.
And I tell him all the time, I'm so grateful he made me a Texas girl. So my husband would say I'm not a true Texan because I wasn't born here, but I'm definitely a Texas girl.
Yeah.
So
Well, I hear I think it's once you're here, 10 years and own a truck. I heard some people 10 years and you own a truck.
Oh, you have to own a truck? Is that part of the
Or if you're
formula?
20 years, is it?
See, no real Texan, no born Texan actually says that. You got
No
that
orange,
from
yeah.
yes,
I
it's
got
for
that from
people
somebody
like
that-
us that are looking for our
Get grandfathered in. I guess.
correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I did not
I
know
grew
that
up
about
here.
you, Minnesota.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I grew up in Plano, Texas.
Okay.
Graduated from Plano East.
Okay.
So this is home to me. This has really always been home. I'm an only child.
Yeah.
So all you only children out there,
Yeah.
we turn out great,
Yeah,
despite what
yeah,
anybody
yeah.
says. Yes, I'm fabulous. I think because I'm an only child, that there's a lot of blessings in that, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I went to Collin County Community College. Got my associate's degree.
Yeah.
Never
So
got
you're
a full
very
degree.
Texas at this point.
I'm
I
very
mean,
Texas.
Texas high school, Texas college. So you're all the way in at this point.
I'm
I
all
would
the
say.
way in.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all the way in. Although I'll never choose barbecue.
Really?
It's true. It's fact.
Well,
Tommy, my
I'm
husband, will
assuming
vouch for
barbecue's
that.
not a thing in Minnesota, though, right?
I guess not. I don't know. I
Okay.
don't think so. Not the same, anyways.
Yeah.
Not the same. So, Tex-Mex all the way, but I don't mind barbecue. I'll just never
Right.
choose it.
Right.
Gotcha.
Much to my
Gotcha.
family's sadness.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So,
So you have 2 daughters.
I have 2 daughters.
You have I think your oldest daughter.
Twins.
Twins. What twins? That's right. Twins.
So 2 minutes. She likes to point out she's 2 minutes older.
Okay. No, that's what you I think said at one of the meetings we had. You joked about that.
Yes.
One of the meetings we had here, and I think she's the one that sings. I heard her sing before. I mean,
So
she's
that's
she's
actually the younger
extremely
one.
smart. Okay, that's the younger
Okay,
one.
so they're twins. So
Gotcha.
Juliet, or
Okay.
we call her Jet.
Okay.
It's her nickname. She is older by 2 whole minutes, and she has hung that over Jillian's head
Yeah.
since pretty much she realized, that she could do that.
I hear most twins do that.
I think so. I mean,
Yeah.
if there's a little bit of power play happening at all times,
Little sibling rivalry going on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we're kind of a competitive family, I
Yeah.
think in good ways, but we're a
Yeah,
competitive
yeah.
family. So she's also, they're fraternal. They do not look really anything alike. So
Oh, I
Jed is
see.
probably now a good 5 inches taller than Jillian.
Wow. Okay.
wow.
Okay.
So Jillian's nickname from the very beginning was Bean, not because she's small, but she would used to say, what you'd ask her what her name was. This is when she was like 2 and 3. What's her
Yeah,
name? She'd
yeah.
say Bean. Say, what's your other name? Beanie.
Beanie. Yeah.
But she's the little one who sings.
Okay. Yeah.
She's my feisty one. And then Jet is my more athletic. Actually, they're both athletic, but she's my sweet nurturer.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
she's the helper. She's the one that will come into the kitchen and, Mommy, what do you need? And Jillian's
Yeah,
off
yeah.
planning how to start a business and take over the world. So
I like it.
Gotcha.
I like
yeah,
it.
2
Gotcha.
very different little girls
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. So does she get that drive and that entrepreneurial spirit from you, or does that come from Dad?
It's really interesting because probably more from her dad, to be honest with you. I think from both of us, though.
Yeah.
I was not like that so much as a child.
Yeah.
I think she sees that in both of us now. But it's funny because when all her little audition tapes came out for her, she did Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Into the Woods. And so I posted a couple of those, and everyone's like, oh, well, everybody knows where she got that, meaning that she got it from me.
Yeah.
And my poor husband was just shaking it because really that was more him than it was me. I mean, he, like as a child, he was definitely more of a performer, more of an extrovert.
Yeah.
All of that. And so I get all the credit for that. And it's really, she really gets that more from him.
Well, that's awesome. So I know you mentioned your husband. How long have you been married?
On the 19th of this month, we'll be married for 24 years.
That's a big
I know. Isn't that crazy?
That's awesome, though.
That's
That is
awesome.
It is awesome. I'm very proud of that.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So I was clearly married very young.
Yeah.
I was married at 19. And so,
You know, that's something we have in common. I got married when I was, wait, I don't want to lie. Hold on. I was 22 when I got married.
Okay, but that is young.
Very young.
No,
very
it's not.
young.
When we got married, it's not as young as it is now.
Oh, right.
You know,
Right.
meaning we had
yeah.
peers. I don't know about you, but I had peers getting married
Yeah, a couple
in
of my
their
peers did get married
early
before me.
20s. Nowadays, I think that's much more uncommon.
Absolutely.
It is. It's a lot more.
But we
Absolutely.
also have kids you have 10-year-old and 11-year-old, right?
10-year-old and 11-year-old.
So we're kind of in that same. So you guys waited a while for babies.
Yeah,
and,
all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know. I think,
Absolutely.
thank God I'm a better mom now than I would have been.
So
That
speaking
is
of
for
being a
sure.
mom, how do you kind of juggle all that? I mean, you got two just feisty, vivacious daughters, right?
Yes.
You got a husband at home, you got,
Yes.
and then you got this big behemoth here that you're managing and leading, right? So how are you able to do all of that, Theresa? I'd love to hear your secret about it.
Well, I think it's, I think to demystify it, there's no perfect days.
Yeah.
And there is also no perfect balance. And so, so just to kind of go back to the beginning of motherhood for me. So we had been married for a while, right? And I had always worked. At the time, my husband was in full-time ministry.
Okay.
And so when I found out I was pregnant with twins, and they were the BOGO deal, the buy one, get one free. So we did the IVF and all the process, and we're just incredibly blessed to have twins, right?
Yeah.
But I remember one time sitting in we had the room all done, right? And I was upstairs in our house at the time, and I remember rocking and just there's a worship song by Jen Johnson that was out at the time, and it says, the first words of the line of the song is, God, I look to you, I won't be overwhelmed. And I'm just, I was like, I'm just so overwhelmed. This is just, twins, like not just to mention adjusting twins. And Tommy and I had decided that I was going to go back to work. I was working at the time for First American Home Warranty. My mom was always a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
And she was the best stay-at-home mom, right? So that's what I was raised at. And so I had a conflict, to be honest, right? About going back to work and how am I going to do all of this and how am I going to be present? And I don't want somebody else to raise my kids and I want to be there, right? Like all of this emotion and overwhelm. And really for a while dealt just with that mom guilt. And I think a lot of women deal with the mom guilt, right?
Absolutely.
And not to say there isn't dad guilt too, or I think there's guilt in all of life, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I dealt with that for a while. And I would tell people, oh yeah, I'm going back to work. I have to. Like, we need my income. He was, again, full-time ministry at the time. That's not the, I mean, we were very blessed, but that's not the most lucrative career path as far as financially. And I would say things like I have to go back to work. And I remember it dawned on me one day, I was like, I actually don't have to go back to work.
Right. Yeah.
Because we could make choices.
Yes.
Right.
We could downsize. We could make all kinds we could not do vacations. I don't actually have to go back to work, and I'm choosing to go back to work.
Gotcha.
And when I started taking ownership of that decision,
changing the mindset a little bit.
Absolutely, because it wasn't being done to me, right? I wasn't a victim. Oh, I have to go back to work. I have to do this. And I started saying, you know what? I choose to go back to work. That's the decision that we made, that we believe is best for our family. That's best for our girls. That's best for me as a as a woman, as a mom, best for our finances, all of those things. All of
Yeah.
a sudden, when it became my choice and I took ownership, the guilt left.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Because
Yeah,
at that
make-
point, I
makes-
had
yeah.
a choice, right? I could either choose to say, because if I truly felt at the time this is not the best choice to make, well, then that's conviction, and I need to choose to make a different choice.
Yeah.
Right.
Then I need to
Right.
stay home,
Yeah.
right?
One thing I've noticed that I see you do very well, and I want you to talk about this because it may help you maybe manage different hats.
Yeah.
Right? Is I think you do a very good job with getting people or encouraging people to work well with you. Like as far as assistants, other people around here, just in the office. What tips or how do you do that as far as getting people to be motivated to even come into work or to help you do a lot of different tasks around, like Janice? I mean, I can name 4 or 5 people who are really good additions, I feel, to the team. But you're like, the end go-to here, it seems like, in the office. I mean, how do you manage that? How do you keep people encouraged, like motivated?
That's a great question, and thank you for seeing what an awesome team I have around me, because it's never a solo deal. At home, it's not solo. I mean, Tommy and I are truly partners, right? We work together. We cover for each other. We help each other. We teach our girls to do that. There's times they chip in. I got home a little late last night because I had a great appointment that went a little long, and I teach them to understand that that's okay sometimes, right? And I took them for sushi, right? Because that makes all things better.
Good,
And then here at the office, without a doubt, you don't ever succeed in business long term alone. You just don't. You have to have, number one, I'm not good at everything. And I can tell you,
I learned that a little bit later
and
than I thought.
Madeline and Janice can all attest to that. And you could do a whole podcast about what Theresa's not good at and needs to keep her nose out of. And so I think it's learning to hire talent and have talent around you, and not be a control freak.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I like that.
I don't have time.
I like
that.
that.
Sounds stressful.
Yeah, it
Like,
does.
I don't want to control all of the things. I don't want my hands in my nose and all of the
I don't know about
things.
you, Lance, but I kind of learned that a little later than I would have liked to.
So,
now I'm more, you're right. I'm looking to delegate as much as I possibly can, as
But
much as
you
I
have
possibly can
great
afford.
people around you too, though,
You know.
right? And maybe that wasn't always the
Yeah.
case. So
Yeah.
that's really hard to do.
It is, yeah.
If you don't have people around you, like Daniel, right? With videography, and you've got a partnership here that you're able to really be partners, and that changes the entire dynamic.
It does.
Yeah, and
it
I
does.
think you mentioned something that's critical to success and sanity, truthfully, is knowing your weaknesses.
Yes.
Right? And knowing who to leverage to help you with those weaknesses that you might have, and knowing what your strengths are as well.
Yes.
Right? So I think it's important that we know how to balance the two. And it sounds like you're doing that pretty well. So I was really happy to hear you hear you mention that. For
Well,
sure.
I actually am I'm kind of a behavior junkie.
Okay.
Meaning I love, so at Keller Williams, we have a tool called the KPA, the Keller Personality Assessment.
Okay.
And so it's been kind of a mission for me to master that, right? Not just to understand it for me, but to understand it as I coach and consult, as I lead my team. I also, I know you've probably heard of the Working Genius because we've talked about it on Huddle. But it is an incredible model talking about the flow of work. And I do truly believe that when we can live in our strengths, do the things that we're best at, we flourish, right? So much of burnout happens because we're doing the things that are not in alignment with either our natural behavior or our purpose. And when we get both of those into alignment, I think it's maximize your potential, right?
Absolutely. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
And one thing that I heard John Maxwell, I don't know if you know John.
Yes.
So one thing I heard John Maxwell say is you really have to understand how to empower the people around you.
Yes.
Right? And so being a leader is understanding how to empower those around you. So I'd love to kind of hear you talk about that. We talked about leveraging the strengths of others.
Yeah.
But what's a way that you'd like to empower others around you as well?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, first of all, I just think generally in leadership, I think leadership is a journey.
Yes.
I don't think leaders are born. I think you can be born with assertiveness or sociability or the ability to think big. But really, leaders are made. And anybody that is truly a great leader is on a journey.
Absolutely.
And that journey doesn't stop. Like, we don't go on that journey and then become a great leader, and then we go, well,
that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, because
it is a total journey.
I mean, you're essentially, helping we have 500 agents here, roughly 550 agents here.
Wow.
And this is is it the largest KW or agents?
Pretty close.
Pretty close. Okay.
So us and South Lake are,
okay.
There's a little rivalry there. Love you, South Lake.
Yeah.
It's all in the family, but we will take them down,
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I'm
you have to put that part in there.
No, I'm totally teasing. Yeah. So we're pretty close in agent count to South Lake. They beat us just a tad in production, but we're coming after them. So
nice. What is the production here at this office that you lead?
Yeah,
how much
so
annually, perhaps?
Yeah, so we're just shy of $2 billion in sales volume.
That's awesome.
Over 4,000 units.
That's awesome.
So
yeah,
that is
a lot of amazing
lots.
agents like Daniel selling a lot of real estate.
Yeah,
so
Thank you.
It's a fun place to be.
Yeah,
it is.
So what really inspired you to get into real estate? I know you mentioned that you were doing home warranty. You were an area manager, right?
I was.
For a home warranty company at one time. But now you've made the transition into real estate. So when did you get into real estate and what inspired that as well?
So I'm married into it.
Married into it.
I'm married into a real estate family and incredibly grateful to my in-laws. So my mother-in-law at the time owned a RE/MAX. And then my father-in-law, who since passed away several years ago, owned a mortgage company that Tommy had worked at and partnered with him on before we got married.
Okay.
And I won't tell you how much. Tommy is a little bit older than I was. He wasn't 19 also. So we when we got married, we moved to East Texas. My father-in-law opened a mortgage company, hired me to answer the phones. I got bored really fast. And so he taught me how to originate loans. So I would just go call on real estate agents and title companies, and I learned how to get rejected. And I had really no idea what I was doing besides I knew that any question I would go back and ask him. So I owe my father-in-law a lot. He really mentored me in the business. Starting out, and my mother-in-law as well. But then we moved back. I went to work for First American Home Warranty, and that's where, if you know the home warranty business, that's where I learned conflict resolution. Customer service. How do you deal with flaming, angry people, who haven't had air conditioning for 2 weeks? And built great relationships in real estate. So really, I've been in real estate in some way. Got licensed in 2006. And then Tommy was still full-time ministry at the church. Brett Caldwell, who was the team leader, my role now here at this Dallas Preston Road at the time, had called me. We'd known each other for years, and he was the owner and operating partner of the Rockwall Market Center. And he called me and he said, "Hey, Theresa, are you interested in talking to me about a team leader role?" And I was like, no. My twins were one. It sounded horrible to me. I was like, absolutely not. I said, but you should talk to Tommy. I think change is coming for us, and I think he would be great at that role. And so he ended up hiring Tommy for Rockwall, and about 6-7 months later, Brett was hiring for the assistant team leader role here at Dallas Preston Road. And I saw what was happening with Tommy, just being in the Keller Williams world and working with Brett, and just the opportunity for growth. And so I took the role as assistant team leader in 2013. So this is my 10th year here, coming up in December. So again, owe a whole lot to Brett for making that phone call. Because I wouldn't be where I am today. And it's changed our lives. I mean, Tommy's now regional director for Keller Williams, runs all of our Go Market Centers, which are Smokey Garrett and David Osborne's offices. And this company has truly changed our lives.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
But it's been a leadership journey. Right? And it's been a journey of without a doubt, I can just list person after person that has invested into us. Smokey, the opportunity that Smokey's given us, and that mentorship has been, I mean, it's a game changer.
It's huge.
It's huge.
So one thing I heard you say, Theresa, that really stood out to me is that at first you rejected it, right? You didn't want the role.
Oh, that's
right?
my MO. That is my MO. Just so you know, I play that card all the time.
You know, but what that tells me is sometimes when you're walking in your purpose, what is meant for you still comes back to you, even if you reject it, right? Even if you don't want it. So I'm just curious.
God's merciful to me.
Well, so I'm just curious, you know, when you're going through life and you're just seeing all these different opportunities in front of you, How do you know which opportunities are the ones that you take, and how do you know which ones are the ones that you should walk away from or should not take?
I love that question. So, I mean, I'm a spiritual person,
Okay.
right? So for me and for Tommy, everything is always going to filter through prayer.
Yes.
So that first and foremost. But I think within that context, I think we don't make decisions based on money. We don't make money decisions.
I like that.
Now, with that being said, I don't mean we don't make budget decisions,
of course.
right?
Yes,
but I don't. That's not the number one motivator, and never will be.
Yeah.
And the money has always come, and God has always provided.
Yes.
But we just made a decision that we don't make fear decisions,
Yeah.
and we don't make money decisions.
Very intentional.
Definitely.
Very
Yeah.
intentional
Yeah.
about
I like
that, right?
Yeah.
And I think ultimately it goes along with core values and being in alignment. If it's not in alignment with purpose, if it's not in alignment with the bigger picture.
Yes.
And I think timing. I think sometimes it can be the right opportunity at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I liked you point out as far as our purpose. When did being here for 10 years?
Yeah.
I would think that you've somewhat found your purpose.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Did it come about just being here over time, or was there a point? Like with me, there was a point in my life where I was like, oh wow, this is my purpose. Like, did it take you time to figure it out, or did something just kind of click and you just like, okay, I'm meant to be here. This is where I'm supposed to be.
I think it's been a journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've always been very purpose driven from the time I was a kid. So just on the spiritual side, when I was 13, I had a pretty cool encounter with God at youth group.
Yeah.
Okay.
And felt called
Yeah.
to ministry. And at the time, that to me felt like church ministry, right? But ultimately, what I knew from a young age is I was called to make a difference in the lives of people.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so
Yes.
Even marrying Tommy, who had a similar passion, at 19, I was like, I'm going to marry him and we're going to go change the world.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
It wasn't,
Yeah.
he literally joked one time that we're going to go move to Africa and we're going to have, a blanket, a pot, and a Bible.
Yeah,
Right? And
yeah.
we're going to go just
Missionary
make a
life.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
honestly,
yeah.
I was like, all right, let's go do that.
Yeah,
That sounds
yeah.
great to me,
Yeah, yeah.
So I've always been purpose driven in that way. But I think it's funny. I had coffee with a really great girl this week, and she actually called me the elder generation, which was a lot to stomach. I don't know if I've ever been called the elder generation.
Well,
my
before.
kids tell me I was
Yeah.
born in the 1900s.
Yeah, great.
So you know what I mean?
Which is actually accurate, but
it's true.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Very
it still
hurtful.
makes me feel old.
It's
Yeah,
very
yeah,
hurtful.
for
Yeah,
sure.
no. Where was I going with this? I don't even remember what my point was after I got on elder generation. What were we talking
We were
about?
still on a purpose.
Yeah, talking about purpose.
She's at a place, right? Because she's in her early 20s of really like choosing her major, defining her major. What do I want to be
Gotcha.
when I grow up?
Yeah, yeah.
And I just said, we all have this idea that we're going to decide that at 18 or at 22, and this is what we're going to be. And I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys, I know some of Daniel's story,
Yeah.
we're becoming.
Yes.
It's not just about what are we going to be. It's like, who are we becoming? And it's
Yeah.
a journey.
Yeah.
But I can look back at my life and I see the patterns of purpose that have really nothing to do with the role I'm in.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
No.
So
Yeah.
meaning I could
100%.
get fired
Yeah.
from my job and I could be homeless on the streets of Dallas and I could actually still fulfill my purpose. And that's the
Yes.
cool thing, because nothing can take that. Like, nobody has the ability to rob me of my purpose. They
Yeah.
can take a lot of things in the natural from us, right? But our purpose, and so it's really not about team leader at Dallas Preston Road or Keller Williams. Now, I will say this has been the most amazing platform
Yeah.
for me to get to do what I do every single day as a career and a job. So
Yeah.
not to take away from that, right?
Yeah.
And I think what Keller Williams has blessed me with, if I were to say just overall the journey of this part of my life, has been just living intentionally.
Yeah.
Well, we I definitely can vouch for you living intentionally. You remember when I was kind of open to leaving my
I
old
remember.
brokerage. And funny story. I know you could talk about this as well, but you know how realtors, they have lots of different brokerages trying to contact you, and Teresa, we had a coffee, and initially just meeting, telling about the brokers, things of that nature, and long story short, she basically had texted me and said, I still haven't eaten yet. She told me she wasn't going to eat until I give her an answer on if I was coming to the brokerage.
You were blowing me off.
Talking about,
he was blowing,
I wasn't necessarily
the word
blowing
I would use.
Ghosting.
Wow.
And I think we had met a couple times.
Yeah.
We did. We met, and you know what? And I
just to be clear, it wasn't like first date, and I was like, I'm not going to eat if you don't.
Yeah.
But I did. I said, Daniel, I am not going to eat today until you call me back.
And in my defense, I thought you kind of were joking. I thought you were joking.
She just told you how intentional she is.
No, that's why I said now I can see.
It was 6:30
now I can
at
see
night.
She's very intentional.
I eat 3 square meals a day. 6:30 at night. I'm also an early dinner person. So I come home from work, and that's like how I change from work mom, work person to mom. Is I like start pulling things out of the fridge. I was like, Daniel, it is 6:30 and I'm starving.
Yeah. But
please
what that did, you know what that did?
I've never done that before. That's not like a regular strategy.
But what that did was because I was like. I was talking to quite a few different people, and that really stood out. It just that little bit really stood out with me. Like, wow, if she's that like bullheaded on like getting back with me, what else it's just probably she's probably about that with a lot of other things in her life. Mm-hmm. So yeah, being very intentional. I can definitely attest that personally. That
I'm also funny.
Yeah, that quality.
Yeah,
I definitely thought you were joking.
Well, you were worth going after and pursuing. Awesome. So you have absolutely made us better here at the Market Center.
No, I've definitely enjoyed it here. I mean, tremendously. One of the reasons why I wanted to kind of bring Lance in on Lance is my go-to. I know people on the channel may know, but Lance is my go-to for my loans. My loan officer go-to here.
Yeah. Which is one of the most important partnerships you can have in real estate.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so definitely wanted to kind of bring him in. And, he's met with a lot of other KW agents.
Yeah. It's been good.
Yeah.
It's been good.
I can tell you're good at what you do.
I try.
Well, I mean, he's not going to be easy to you if you're not.
Yeah,
so that's
Daniel,
a pretty good.
We go way back. We've
Let's
known
go back
each other.
to the control freak part. Yeah.
We've known each other for quite some time.
He's from my, I started off being a loan officer for 10 plus years and an underwriter. But kind of when I first started, that's kind of when I met.
Yeah. It's crazy how sometimes some of those first relationships end up being...
they come back later in life and work that way. That's awesome. One thing you mentioned, Theresa, that really stands out to me, and you this has kind of been the theme of your talking here, is purpose, right? Yeah. And so a good friend of mine, he always says, we have a joint purpose. We all have a joint purpose. You may have a mission you're on, but we truly have a joint purpose. And that purpose is to grow in our capacity to love.
I love that.
Right? And so we have to find ways that we can express love, even in our careers, in our family lives, and our friendships, and all those other things. So I'm curious, when you're being intentional and when you're working and you're thinking about purpose, what is your purpose, and how does that purpose tie into what you do on a daily basis with Keller Williams?
Oh, you are a really. Where did you learn to be such a great interviewer?
So I think
truly, you're coming up. I don't know if you planned these questions.
No,
but
I didn't.
These are really
I think it's natural in conversation.
Yeah.
I'm just by nature a very inquisitive person.
Yes.
And I like to study people. I think people study is probably one of the highest fields of education.
Yeah.
If you really get to know a person, I think that allows you to really thrive in what you do. And so I've always kind of taken that with me my whole life, for sure. So
you're very good.
Well, I appreciate it.
So I believe my purpose is really to inspire, encourage people to really live their full potential by being their best, by living in their strengths, by being who God's called them to be. I'm really passionate about identity. Yeah. Because I do believe that all of life is inside to outside, right? That the outside manifests because of what's happening internally. And I think so much of that is about identity. Yeah. And what's really great is when you have clarity kind of on that life message or that purpose, I get to use that. I get to raise my girls, right? To understand who they are, right? And who they're called to be. And I get to come into Keller Williams and help real estate agents be their best in their business, right? And so just finding ways. So we do a morning huddle which was, I wasn't accidental, but we started it in COVID when Tommy was here with me. The two of us started it, and we started it to tell our agents if they were essential or not.
Yeah.
And this is, this was 2020, so no one really knew how to use Zoom. You know, half the people aren't muted, their cameras are on, and they're like getting ready in the shower. I mean, Lord, it was a disaster. But we quickly realized that people needed leadership, right? Because we were all scared. Nobody knew what was going to happen. We needed direction, and so we made it really a mindset and strategy huddle. And we have just kept that. So we've been going 3 years strong here, and people that know me kind of tease me a little bit about my daily huddle that happens daily. But I tell people all the time, I don't do that. I do it for the people that get on that huddle, but I do it for me in the sense of I do it because it causes me to have to show up every day and have something to say and to be able to invest and show up with energy, whether I feel great or not. Right. And to, and it gives me the opportunity then to every single day inspire and encourage people to be their very best, right? And to live up to their potential. And so, you guys doing this podcast, right? It's you're being intentional and purposeful about what you are passionate about doing.
I mean, you do an excellent job with the morning huddles.
Which I love
and
that
I think
you're
it's
on.
good.
You're a faithful huddler.
Yeah, I haven't been on the last couple weeks because, well, I'll say probably
I've
the last couple
noticed.
weeks only because this space has taken a lot.
a lot of our time.
It's taken a lot, and mentally it's taken a lot but no, I think it definitely helps for individuals who have a hard time starting their morning off on a positive note. For I'll say probably for a couple of years, it's taken me it took me a long time. To make it, to be intentional, right? About starting my morning positively. And with the morning huddles, that definitely helps out, tremendously.
Well, and what I tell people is every day is not going to change your life. Right? Every message is not going to resonate, right? There's going to be some that do and some that don't. It's the habit of showing up, which to me, so much of sales, just show up. Like, just show up. Get up, get dressed, and show up, right? It's like even working out. If you just show up at the gym, that's half the battle, right? So the key in something like that is the consistency of doing it every day.
Practice.
And when you show up consistent, then all of a sudden you're on for the huddle that does change your life. Because you put yourself in a position to get lucky.
You do.
Right? You put yourself in what a coincidence. Not really. You showed up every day.
That's right.
And so then you were in the right place at the right time because you built a great habit.
I like that, Theresa. 100%. And a lot of times people will look at you and judge you based on where you are today. But they weren't with you when you were getting all those reps in, before.
Exactly.
Right? And so you mentioned going to the gym, right? You don't just show up one day and you're like this perfectly chiseled physique, right? You have to go to the gym every day, get those reps in, and at some point you become who you are. And so I think that's important to let people know that you don't just arrive perfect. It takes some work to get there. So I really like what you said. One thing, just kind of going back on what you mentioned when you first got into the real estate business, and you talked about how you were on the phones, you were making calls, and you dealt with a lot of rejection. Right? People were telling you no, today's not the day, or
Hurt
whatever.
My feelings.
Right? But how much better, right? How much better did that make you as the person you are today? Right?
100%. And honestly, people are surprised. I'm actually not highly social. So we use the KPA, right? It's a metric of 1 to 10. My sociability is about a 5. And people are always shocked about that because they think I'm like a 9 or 10.
That is very hard to believe.
So you can flex it up or flex it down about 3 degrees, right? So when I show up on huddle, my energy shows up like an 8. But when I'm tired, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a 2. Right? That's the only child coming out of me, right? Like I'm ready for quiet and alone time. So I'm not naturally assertive either. My assertiveness is actually about a 3. I shouldn't actually, on paper, I really shouldn't succeed at the role because I'm not naturally assertive or driven enough. And so I think it's twofold. Number one, I've had to be uncomfortable, maybe more than somebody who is highly assertive. But I went on a journey to where I was able to grow my leadership and put people around me so I don't have to show up as an 8. Now, I'm competitive. Don't get me wrong. I'm competitive and I'm fast-paced, but I'm not assertive, which is really kind of a different behavioral style, I think, than most people in my role.
So knowing that you're not assertive, you mentioned being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
What advice or how were you able to get over being uncomfortable? Because I mean, knowing that, like, because a lot of people think that I'm extroverted.
Yeah.
But I had to do a lot of different things to kind of get out of not being
Right.
So what type of things did you have to kind of overcome, or what techniques did you do to kind of get over being uncomfortable?
Time.
Yeah.
I think so. Typically, I think for people who are less assertive, once they become comfortable, because a lot of times you'll do an assessment like that and they'll think about their home life and they'll go, I'm very assertive at home. Like my husband would tell you, I'm very assertive, right? Why? Because you're comfortable in that environment. But I'm not going to walk into a room where I'm not the appointed leader and take charge. Like, that's just not my natural. I'm just going to sit back. I'm totally happy to do that. Like, I don't have this need. When I work out at Orange Theory, they're like, who wants to lead the row? I'm like, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody else can do. I'm good with that. And so if I had started as the team leader back in 2013, I would have been miserable. I needed to be the assistant. I needed to go on a journey.
Yeah.
And there's no shame in that, right?
Yeah.
But I went on a journey of being an assistant team leader, and I grew in my skills, and I grew in my confidence, and I grew in my leadership. And then Tommy and I were co-team leaders together, right? So yeah, I'm slow. I'm on the slow train, you know. But I think
time.
I think in this case it was time, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good answer.
No, I think
it is a good answer.
Yeah, I think it
is
is.
a good
I
answer.
mean, I think that was my journey. Would there be ways to maybe accelerate that? I think sometimes you do, right? Realtors get into this business and they got to make money quickly. They don't have 3 years to get comfortable, right? So you just have to, people hate fake it till you make it. But I just believe there's a reality of fake it till you make it sometimes. Like you do have to act as you want to be, not as you
act
are,
as if,
or how you feel.
Yeah. And understanding that it is a journey,
Yeah.
right? So I think that's one of the
we're
biggest
still on
takeaways.
it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
The journey
Thank
never
God.
really ends. Yeah, the journey
Yeah.
never really ends. Even if someone is well off financially, or they have all the social status, they should still acknowledge that we are definitely on a journey.
Yes.
And I think that's a big part of how you build a legacy as well, because people can perceive that, right? If you're talking to someone, they will understand if you are a person who thinks they have it all figured out, or if you're a person who is more of a learner, right?
Yeah.
And I think what your style speaks to is the diversity of leadership. Many times people think about a leader as someone who is assertive, someone who does have it all figured out. But truly, the essence of a great leader is a learner.
Yeah.
Right? A person who is willing to acknowledge when they don't know something. And like we talked about, imploring other folks to do things for you and help you do things with them.
Yes.
Right? But how do you, if I asked someone on your team, if I asked them, if I said, how does Theresa make you feel and what does she make you want to do? What would their answer be?
Oh, well, we should go ask them.
Yeah, we will. We will.
Yeah.
But I'd like to hear it from you.
Yeah.
So I think what they would say, they can get on the comments after you post this and tell me if they disagree with me. I think I have the ability to bring energy. And people think I run all day with energy, and I really don't. I mean, I'm in bed at like 8:30 at night. My girls are trying to stay up later than I am and want me to tuck them in. I'm like, girls, Mama's going to bed.
Yeah.
Like, I am tired. Like, I don't run with unlimited energy. But I do believe in purposely creating energy.
Yeah.
Gary Keller talks about being a CEO is creating energy, engaging talent, and owning results. And I think sometimes we think that energy is just about what we have and utilizing what we have as opposed to creating it.
Yeah.
And so I think that they would say that I bring energy to what we do, right?
Yeah.
So I bring energy to morning huddle. My team's always on there, right? We do a staff huddle. I think, and I'm competitive, right? It's about accomplishment. It's about making things happen. It's about going fast and helping people.
Yeah.
So
It's definitely
I think
about
they all
being
know what
competitive,
why we're doing what we're doing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Having a why.
Having a why,
Yeah.
right? We're not inviting people to come to a class just to have a full training room.
Right.
We're inviting them because they have families that are counting on them to do well in real estate, right? We're in a market that is not easy.
Right.
It's challenging in a lot of different ways. Now, there's tons of opportunity. But why we do what we do at the end of the day is about our people. And I think they know that. And I think that's why they show up. And that's why they're
definitely
such great at what they do, is because it's about you guys, right?
I think one thing I can say that you've done for me and my business, because I guess you did ask, we did say we could ask other agents here, but so I guess I'm one of the agents here.
But yes,
we got one here. Yep.
We got one agent here.
Right
But
how perfect.
Well, compare what I can personally say, which just may help other realtors out or people just in different businesses that may be in the same type of situation or same type of structure, is I think a lot of brokerages, of course can't name any in particular, but I know some that I've experienced, were good with saying they're supportive, good with saying that they're a motivating broker or willing to be there when you need it. And then there's the ones that actually do it and actually push you to step out of your comfort zone, because there are things that, I've wanted to do as far as with teaching and things of that nature where people say they support you, but actually pushing you, giving you a platform, personally helping your brand is very rare. And I think people say it so easily just to get you in their business or get you in their broker, and they don't truly live it and do it and just really live up to it. And that is something that I truly admire, and it's definitely one of the reasons why I am really was really excited and fortunate that you came on our podcast. Like, seriously, I mean, it's one of the reasons why we have this podcast, and I think it's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you as the first person to be on the podcast, because I mean, literally without you, I mean, we're in the Keller Woods building.
We are,
and it's another opportunity that you've given not only me but my friend Lance. So.
Absolutely.
The pleasure's all ours for sure. And
definitely.
I do truly believe in partnership. Right. And when you find people and I don't believe in just hiring agents. I believe in hiring partners. Right. Because we all get to go farther and faster together, and it's so much more fun. Right. Just
Absolutely.
Your vibe attracts your tribe. Right.
Yeah. I like it. I like it. I like it. So with $2 billion, or did you say $2 billion?
No, not quite.
Not quite. So almost $2 billion. Right. That you're leading the pack, managing folks doing that. As far as that's concerned, what does it look like to be even more successful, right? How do you stay driven and you're doing, billions of dollars already in volume?
Yeah. Well, I think because you never take that for granted. Right?
Yeah,
So this industry is incredibly competitive. It's competitive on the brokerage level, continuing to provide value. The value that we provided 2 years ago for our agents can't be the same value we provide today. Our agents are different. Their businesses are different. The market is different. So we constantly have to be innovating and have to be getting better. Because if we're not, we won't be in business. I mean, literally, that is the game that we're all in. Things just move so quickly. And, for real estate in general, the game has changed, right? The way that you go out and get business, what the consumer wants from their real estate agent, all of that is so quickly evolving that I think you're driven because I know that what we have here is just a really special thing. And I don't want and I protect this market center by continuing to grow it with talent, right? Continuing to bring in market share and helping our people succeed and grow. Nobody wants to, people join Keller Williams because they want to grow. And that could just be they want to grow their business, they want to grow their income, they want to grow their wealth, they want to grow their mindset, they want to grow their leadership, their influence, right? And so when we owe it to people that choose to partner with us to continue to show up every day and make that happen.
I like it.
Well, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it has.
It's truly
awesome.
been a pleasure.
You guys are great. This podcast is going to be, you guys you're very good at what you do.
Well, thank you, and appreciate you taking the time. I know you're very, very busy, but thank you for taking the time to be on the podcast.
No, thank you so much.
All right, thanks, Theresa.